This goes to Nancy.
Huh?
That's Nancy's.
This way?
Goes to Nancy.
Oh.
Yeah.
The green light is a green light and the chairman will call the meeting to order. Here.
Tom Kitson,
Present.
Mike Book, Nancy Naylor,
Present.
Reed Acree,
Here.
Jason Anderson.
Present.
Thank
All right. Mr. Boonstra, you have anything for us exciting this morning?
Good morning, sir. No, nothing exciting for you.
Wow. Well, that's disappointing. I'm always
I can
like to
come up
hear
with
from the
something if
state
you'd like.
attorney.
He can come up with something?
I'm sure, well, he's probably, like the
He
sheriff, he can always come up with something.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get to that when we come around.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Mr. Treasurer.
Hello, good morning. I do have something for you that I want to give you guys a heads up on that we're taking a look at within the treasurer's office. So every year, as we collect taxes, we also now have been using an online system, a portal system, or a phone system that takes it, an e-check or credit card, debit card, that type of payment. I've come across the company that will run their own website for us. It'll have all kinds of information for the actual property owners. It'll have 10 years back worth of tax bills for them. They also partner with DevNet, which is our software for taxes. So there is a contract that they'd like us to sign by the end of December. I've sent it to Charlie. And I just sent it to him, so I'm not asking him for any information. But it's a simple software. It's basically software, but it will give our constituents a lot easier way to pay and gives them more information. And it'll be a lot easier on the department. What we're trying to do is move away from the envelopes that we get all summer long, mail, people showing up at the counter versus, and then going into the online payments. DeKalb County uses it today. They're absolutely enamored with it. They had 130% increase year over year in people using the online system. So,
Wow.
so they went from like 5,000 users up to a little over 11,000 in 1 year. So.
So is this, it's within your budget? So.
Yeah, it would easily, and technically for the most part, the consumer pays for it because it's really using a credit card. The fees that are going to be used, they're going to be paid by the consumer.
Mhm. So what's the cost for the software?
So if we sign the contract this month, they're going to waive that cost. Otherwise, it's like $100 a month.
Oh.
So even if it was at $100 a month, it's really, it's worth it. It'll also save us, as we get more and more people going online, they can get their bills sent to them via email. They can get reminders sent to them via emails that, hey, your bill's coming up due. They can get a text through their phone if they want to do that. And by doing that, we can lower our postage cost, which was over $18,000 this year.
Wow. Okay.
Sure.
So when you say they can get their bills, they can set it up they do all of this themselves, right? The
Like-
consumer can go on their account and do it?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, DevNet has that capability within the DevNet wedge, but that is built more for somebody who's doing the title research, somebody, more for professionals. And we do seem to have a lot of phone calls in the office during that time period. If the normal homeowner is using it, it can get confusing for them. So this will also make it a lot easier for them just to get to their data.
Simplify it, okay.
Yeah, it's going to simplify it for them.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we're excited about it. I think we're gonna, go, as long as Charlie doesn't have any problems here in the next couple weeks with it. It's a 4-page contract, by the way. So there's nothing, it's just software.
Right.
So
Okay.
it looks like something
Well,
that,
that sounds cool. And they're waiving the
they'll waive it if we sign it by, yeah, because it's going to take them, for them to be prepared for our next tax cycle, they have to, it takes them about 90 days to set us up, which means they have to be up and running by January, meaning they have to get running. Well, they won't do that until we sign a contract, so.
Right.
But even still, because our tax bills will go out in May sometime, so we got to be up and running and ready to go.
Super.
Yeah.
No, that sounds great.
So,
And
just giving you
especially
guys a
no
heads up
cost
on
to
that.
us, at least for the first year and.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, it's
you know,
not
see how it
really,
runs.
yeah, and if, again, it's a, you know, typically we'll do a 3-year contract with them. And if we can get the postage to go down, even if it went down by 1/10, it'll more than pay that for itself each year, 1/10, it'll more than pay for itself.
And
So-
communication with the constituents is never a bad thing.
No.
Never.
So this will be, it's, like I said, it's a great way to contact them via text or email, where today we don't have that capability.
So, quick
great.
question, Paul. Is that going to tie into the DevNet Wedge then on our GIS website?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
so they are a partner with DevNet.
Mhm.
So if you go onto our website, we could also they can just give us like a QR code, or they call it a pay button, where we have today, pay your tax. You want to go search for your thing, they can just have a button on our website, just boom, and then it takes them directly to it.
Okay. Yeah, I just
So-
know that there's a lot of resources on the Wedge itself, right?
There,
So-
there,
right.
absolutely. I mean, DevNet has a lot of information. It's just very cumbersome for I'll call it the average homeowner.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. So this will work out. Just wanted to give you guys that heads up because it'll be coming and trying to make the office a little more efficient as well.
Super. Any questions for Paul? Okay. Mr. Finance Director, Reed.
Nothing, other than what's on the agenda.
Okay. All
I
right.
guess the only one thing that I would add to Paul's thing is it also offers like more touch points, right? Right now, we send out the bill and that's it. Until you're kind of too late, right? Then we send out certified saying, hey, you're past the deadline.
Right.
This system will be able to, if you sign up for the email stuff or text, it'll provide 3 additional touch points to say, hey, bill's due in a week or so, right? So like it'll give them a few more touch points, reminders, which I think.
So that,
they'll
that
like
brings up a question in my mind. So what is the percentage of our taxpayers of which we have an active email? Or
They will.
How does that work?
As far as, we probably have some, but not stored in a good way. They will run a campaign to
To get signed
get
up?
people to sign up. And so like, if someone chooses to pay online, they will be required to provide that email address. And
Sure.
I mean, that will also help the office out a lot, just in terms of people moving and not updating us with their new address, which happens a lot with our Woodhaven Lakes properties, right? So
Right.
usually you're not changing email addresses every like 2 or 3 years, right? So that will, that will help out a lot there. Another thing is it will be, for those that call, it will make it a lot easier for us. Hey, I never got my bill. It'll make it super easy for us to pass along that information to them, either via email or text. They could just give it, we can get in the system and say, oh, how do you want it? Email or text? They tell us their email address, send it out, gives them a copy of their bill, or I want to buy a text message, put in the number, sends them a link, and that link actually takes them directly to their page to be able to pay. Whereas like something like the DevNet Wedge, you got to go look up your property. You got to say, hey, I want to pay the taxes. Then when you say, I want to pay the taxes, it's going to take you to another site for you to add that thing to your cart. Then you've added it to your cart. Now you got to go put in your card information and everything. So there will just be less clicks, a lot easier for everybody, more touch points. So just wanted to throw that out.
Sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Sheriff Whalen, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I comment before you get rolling is that I want to compliment you on you. I was seeing your face all over Facebook
Oh, boy.
and in regards to commentary once again on the Safety Act. And I also want to compliment the Illinois Sheriff's Association. I had a conversation with Jim Kychek, their executive director, great guy. But really appreciate the continual effort that you guys are putting in to raise awareness on what's going on and why this law is not working. Anyway, go ahead. Thanks,
Yes,
Bob.
absolutely. Yeah, we're trying to keep the momentum going as far as, if not all out repeal the Safety Act, at least make some appropriate modifications to ensure the safety of all the individuals in the state.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Nope, I did get my report done though this time. So it encompasses 2 months.
Looking forward to it. Dean, all good. Michael? Keen? Nancy? And Sarah and Patty? All right. When you come by. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad everybody is here. We've got the minutes. Everybody have a chance to look over the minutes? Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, entertain motion to approve. Moved by Naylor, second by Anderson. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. And we move right on to the treasurer's monthly financial report, which is also the quarterly report. Reed, have at it.
So good news, we are under budget, by about less than 1%, which I thank all department heads for being cognizant of our remaining budget and getting through the year under our budget. I guess the only thing to maybe point out on the general fund budget in terms of the revenue side. So, our actual budget of the 17.8 million in revenue is a little different than our 18 million budgeted, but that is because we did not need to dip into those reserves like we thought we might have to, right? So it's not it's not really like we didn't really miss our revenue projection. It's just we did not need to move some of those transfers over. In fact, I think we were pretty right on with our budget for the state and property tax revenue. So, sure, now that we have our annual numbers for our kind of state distributed income tax, personal property replacement tax, sales tax numbers, we were down in some places, right? We've talked about PPRT, we've talked about use tax, but then we were up in other places like county sales tax, right? So on the whole, I think we came in pretty right on. So that is good. That gives me good feelings about our revenue projections for the budget for FY26 that we put together. I guess any questions on either any of the other reports within the packet?
I wish now we would have done the over under on where we ended up. That's pretty amazing.
I can
$900 off a budget,
Well,
that's,
and that's also a little function of,
Yeah, and I
hey, we don't
understand.
need to move as much over as what we need to. We moved some out of solid waste, but significantly less than what we had budgeted. I think we had probably $200,000 budgeted to come out of solid waste, and we moved 67.
Yeah.
We did not hit the capital that we also had budgeted. So, that part of that is a function of, hey, we didn't actually have overspent our planned budget amounts, so we moved enough over to be positive for the year.
That's also a function of the department heads also tightening their belt a little bit and not spending every dollar that was appropriated. So, and I think that's something to celebrate as well. And also, when you look at the capital line, we had 4.6 budgeted to spend, and we spent 1.6, 1.7. So again, we were able to, keep some of that cash available to us if needed.
Well, it's still awesome. Nancy, go ahead.
Reed, I have a question. Looking at the percent of remaining budget under the general fund, there's a few that are a few that are negative, but there's one glaring one that stands out there, the 57% of the coroner. I'm guessing it was a money move or something, or can you explain that?
So we had budgeted, the coroner has obviously his general fund budget, and then there also is a coroner fund budget that reading the statute, my interpretation is that basically it can be used to spend on the operations of the coroner's office. So to me, that's pretty much anything that is needed to run the coroner's office, right? So what we did for our FY25 budget, and I think Jim made a point of it at all of our meetings with everybody, is, hey, let's try to use our special revenue funds when available. And I just don't think we dipped into that this year. We had budgeted for maybe some more of those expenditures to come out of the coroner fund than the county general side. So, and I know from a percentage amount, it looks very high, but he has also a pretty small, or a lot smaller budget than most departments too. So high, but I think theoretically, if we had some of those expenses come out of the coroner fund budget, it wouldn't be negative.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other question? Tom, did you have a question? Okay, gotcha.
One other thing to potentially point out with some of those negative numbers, right? So another piece of that last year, right? We were going through union negotiations. So there were several offices where we didn't know what that number was going to be, so we put it in contingencies, right? So we could have then allocated those contingencies out, but we did not do that to push it to everyone's budget. So yeah, their payroll line might be over budget, but it was really taken care of with budgeting for contingencies.
Any other questions for Reed? Thank you, Reed.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I guess one other, not for these financials, but we do have some of our state numbers in for the first month or next month, and they are continuing some of the sales tax ones are continuing to be strong, and then we've actually got some pretty strong numbers with regards to PPRT and state income tax. So maybe a little too early in the year to get super excited about it, but so far they've come in strong.
We will watch that as time passes.
Yep.
All right, thanks again, Reed. Okay, Insurance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Insurance Committee met this past week here in the committee room for our quarterly insurance meeting. I really don't have much of anything new to report. There's one change going on with the IPBC. There might be some changes internally with that. Both Susan and Jeremy have been on top of that, so there's nothing that I have to report. They will report back to us at our next meeting. We just, again, Susan reported that 134 of our employees went through the biometric and 11 retirees, so a total of 144 employees. So that was a great return on that. The Wellness Committee, Sarah gave a report to us of things going on. She really doesn't have anything new for this committee meeting because she reported what she reported to us last week. So she will probably have a report in January, and our next meeting for insurance is March 10th, and we will be starting to review and compare and do some comps for the upcoming process of looking at our insurance costs. That's all I have. Unless there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any question for Nancy?
Thank you, Ms.
Hearing none.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. Ministry report. Jeremy, what do you got for us?
Not a lot, just going to be working to compile our tax and levy documents to give to the clerk's office for their extension documentations and calculations. So that's on my agenda now. I do want to keep in mind, for everyone to keep in mind that in 2026, so actually in 2024, As a county, we had discussed moving to a metric-based raise system, right? So evaluations specific in a specific manner across the county, and then moving to a different raise structure. Traditionally, we had done a blanket raise across the county based upon the Teamsters Union. That has changed over the last couple of years. We did do some wage adjustments due to a salary gap that we had recognized in a salary analysis that Reed and I had done. And we did that last year. And so this year was the start of kind of getting that correction back in place. So everybody is kind of on the same level throughout the county. And we've been working with department heads to get that evaluation in place. So then we could go into the new raise structure. So things are going well for the most part, but keep in mind there's going to be some hiccups with that. And we'll work through them as they come.
All right, very good. Any questions for Jeremy? Thank you, Jeremy. All right. And now we have the ARPA, the 2025 year-end report. So ARPA report. So go ahead, Sarah and Patty.
All right, we have our final ARPA presentation here. This is something that we discussed early on with the ARPA committee about once all of the funds were allocated to projects, kind of presenting a comprehensive report to the committee to kind of highlight where all of those funds went. So that's what we've got for you today. So just to kind of give a history, so the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, they call it the SLFRF is what they refer to it as. Treasury awarded $350 billion to state, territorial, local, and tribal governments. Lee County received $6.6 million. And then we received half of the award in May of 2021 and the second half in June of 2022. If you guys are curious where other, neighboring counties, states have spent their funds, I always include that link on our quarterly report that we have. So you can always refer back to that to take a look. If you're wondering, what somebody spent on their projects, it's all it's all highlighted in there as far as the dollar amounts and a short description of the project. You can even look at our projects too. They take that information from the annual report that we submit. So the initial guidelines that came out for ARPA funds, all funds must be fully expended or obligated to projects no later than December 31st of 2024. And we did that here. And then all funds must be fully expended by December 31st of 2026. Patty and I do annual reporting that is required through 6 to document all projects and expenditures. So we will also have a report coming up in 2026 that encompasses April 1st of 2025 through March 31st of 2026. And then we submit that in April of 2026. And then we will have another report in 2027, which will encompass the end of 2026, whatever activities, expenditures that we had. And there should be a closeout report coming out. I have obtained some information, some vague information that they're working on that. But we don't have anything yet. So Patty and I probably won't know until we log in to the portal in April to do our report, if there is actually a closeout area in there, or if that will come about in 2020.
Because from here on, we're done, right?
Essentially, yes. We
Yeah.
just have administrative expenses left to pay.
Right.
As far as projects, everything has been paid out and used up.
Right.
Yep. So the guidelines that Treasury set forth for the ARPA funds is to replace lost public sector revenue, responding to the public health and negative economic impacts of the pandemic, provide premium pay to essential workers, and invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. All of these guidelines were put forth in a document called the Final Rule. The Final Rule has underwent many changes since ARPA funds first began. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we get through the presentation. So when we received our ARPA funds, Lee County decided to put together an ARPA committee to kind of make decisions about what to do with those funds, how to accept requests, review it for guidelines. So they formed a committee, consisted of county board members to vote on those funds based upon guidelines. The committee identified and voted on top priorities for the use of ARPA funds. In early 2022, Treasury made some changes to ARPA guidelines. So they allowed recipients to take what they called a standard allowance of up to $10 million to spend on government services throughout the performance period. That was not allowed previously. So in our April 2022 report, after the committee had voted to move forward with that, we took that standard allowance, which allowed us some more flexibility on how to use those funds. So we could use them sometime outside of some of the guidelines that were set up. Many changes and modifications over the years that ARPA funds were once the guidelines were initially released. They made many changes. This was one of them, but there were also a lot of other changes. They didn't necessarily apply to us here in Lee County. Projects, several $1 million projects that were in urban and suburban areas. So the priority areas for the ARPA committee was assistance to small business, tourism, travel, and hospitality, assistance to households using community service agencies, job training programs utilizing BEST, Sauk Valley, and other agencies, technology improvements to the county board meeting rooms, and improvements to broadband infrastructure. I'll pause there because the broad is a priority. We don't have a slide here for that one because we did pledge $1.6 million of a grant match towards a project early on in ARPA funds. However, the broadband agency did not receive that grant. So then those funds just kind of went back in to be reallocated to new projects. And there were no other broadband infrastructure projects that came up at that point to allocate funds to. So going through the categories, the first category we have is just kind of a general request category. Patty and I set this up because this category encompasses early requests before the committee determined priority areas and requests that kind of didn't fall in any one of our priority areas. So the first one that we funded is the Lee County Sheriff's Office. There's a driveway for maintenance, kitchen, and deliveries. That totaled $17,775. The Lee County Clerk got new election equipment, $197,000. County Board technology upgrades, the upgrades that you see here, your tablets that you're using, all of that totaled $248,000. Remediation of unsafe abandoned properties in Lee County, that was $45,000, and that went towards the demolition, repair, or enclosure costs. And about that time, I believe, is when the Abandoned Properties Committee was kind of formed to start to address some of those properties. The Lee County Sheriff's Office had portable and mobile radios for corrections and court security, totaling $24,000. We provided just under $100,000 to Lee County Fire Departments for assistance. Each department received $10,000 to use towards a project, supplies, or equipment related to the public health response or negative impact of the pandemic. The departments that were funded were Amboy, Ashton, Compton, Dixon City, Dixon Rural, Franklin Grove, Harmon, Paw Paw, Sublette, and West Brooklyn. Additional general requests were the Lee County Fairgrounds. They made a lot of upgrades to their main exhibit building, livestock barns, and grounds, totaling $236,000. The Highway Department was in need of a concrete box culvert for a project on Brooklyn Road. We funded $250,000, and that was a portion of the total cost of that item that was needed. The Lee County Sheriff's Department Polycom Studio with a Zoom feature for inmates to appear virtually in court, that was $11,000. Administrative fees total $219,000. That includes preparing and presenting at ARPA committee meetings, quarterly reports, reviewing the requests that were submitted to determine the eligibility by the guidelines, compliance with guidelines, updates to guidelines, tracking and reporting all of this information and reporting it annually to the Treasury, as well as a small amount to board member mileage. Just so you have an idea of what Patty and I have been working on with this project, I think between the two of us, we probably have about 15 to 20 binders of information just between final rules, changes, things that we have highlighted, flagged, documentation, presentations for meetings. We're we're very particular when we keep records that we make sure we've got everything documented. That, you know, if it was voted on in a meeting, that we have those minutes attached to that request. So if for some reason, at some point, we may ever be audited, we can just turn all those binders over and we've got all of the bases covered and should have no issues. Next category is small business, tourism, and travel. So we funded Lee County Tourism for $22,000. They had some advertising projects that they were working on in 2022, as well as an update to their website. The next picture show submitted a request. They needed some HVAC equipment because theirs was old and outdated. That was $9,000. We pledged a match for the Dixon Historic Theater for a grant match, $100,000 for their renovations and upgrades. We offered a small business program to Lee County businesses. We provided up to $10,404 to 49 small businesses. Total ended up being $489,000. Some small businesses did not need or did not take advantage of the $10,404, so some of them came in a little bit lower. We had an application and it included guidelines that the business must employ up to 25 employees, existed in business on March 16th, 2020, which was the declaration of the pandemic date, and is still in business as of the date of their request, and that they fall in a highly impacted industry. So those businesses that we funded are Three's Company, Alan-Litas Pizzeria, Alley Loop, Amboy Long Branch, Anois Studios, Anytime Fitness, Asterisk Boutique, Baker Street, Basil Tree, Beaver Den Tavern and Grill, Bogies and Timber Creek Golf, Books on First, Caribbean Tan, Clipper Kitties Preschool, The Crystal Cork, Drifter's Saloon, Flinny's Diner, Fusion Salon, The Brandywine, Ginkgo Tree, Huddle Cafe, Khalil's Clothing, Lincoln Way Cafe, Mama Semino's, McKinney Group, Meraki Spa and Salon, Musel's Dairy Delight, Morrissey Properties, My Play Village, Palmyra Pub, Ham's Hallmark, Railside Bar and Grill, Ralphie and Lulu's, Red Apple Dixon, River's Edge, Royal Palms, Route 52 Roadhouse, Triple P Barbecue, Stonebridge Running, Sunset Inn Restaurant, The Last Stop, Tipsy's, Town and Country, Traditional Wellness Center, Travel Consultants, Trines, Two Sisters on Main, Val's Place, and Zero's Tap. Also in the category of small business, tourism, and travel, we did a tourism grant match of $40,000. We partnered with the city of Dixon to help develop Discover Dixon and the Lee County website. That website allowed the ability to track the demographics of people visiting the website and aid in developing a more direct marketing approach for them. In the category of community service, we offered a community service program. So we put out an application for a program for community service agencies to apply. We funded $129,000 in that program. They could use the agencies could use that for projects to repay or make payments towards a loan that was taken out due to the impacts of COVID-19 or replenish savings if it was depleted as a result of the impact of COVID-19. 13 agencies applied and received approximately $10,000 each. Those agencies are Dixon Family YMCA, Goodfellows of Lee County, Meals on Wheels, Shining Star Children's Advocacy Center, United Way of Lee County, Hope Bible Fellowship, Sinisippi Centers, Green River Saddle Club, Teen Turf, Clipper Kitties, Dixon Elks, Franklin Creek Conservation Association, and Loveland Community House. In the category of business development and job training, we had two items here on the screen. The Regional Office of Education created a Nexus program. And once the program was created, there was a small budget gap for 1 year. So they were asking for $25,000 to bridge that salary to cover the position. And that was Whiteside and Ogle counties also contributed a third. So in the same amount to bridge that budget gap. Sauk Valley Community College received $100,000 to build a fully automated and remote operated greenhouse and hoop house for their agriculture program. Lee County Health Department food service permit fees for restaurants and seasonal businesses. ARPA funds covered that for the years of 2023 and 2024, and that assisted approximately 200 businesses annually. Then the Lee Ogle Enterprise Zone EDA Planning Grant match of $75,000 for development of the Stewart Area Industrial Property. We pledged funds towards the IDOT Raise Planning Grant, which was for multi-use paths in Lee County. $60,000 was approved by the committee. IDOT was not awarded the grant. However, we did use ARPA funds of $4,732. I believe it was for some engineering development for the grant application requirements. Then LCIDA had a contribution to salary for a full-time economic developer. Lee County ARPA funds pledged $35,000 a year for 2023 and 2024. On to capital projects. So the funds that covered some capital projects here at the county project was $299,000. Engineering development for the new courts HVAC project, $188,000. The new courts HVAC project was 2.8 million, and that was over 3 ARPA approvals over different stages of the project. The new courts building also received a new boiler. That was 209,000. The county board chair conference room upgrades, that's 28,000. There was an IT project to move servers to the courts building. That was $21,000. Lead abatement at the old Lee County Jail. That was around $1,000. The new courts building elevator, $249,000. Asbestos removal at the old Lee County Jail was $29,000. Old courthouse elevator repairs, $120,000. And then improvements to the 4th floor for the new courts building. There was a remainder of some funds left, and that was around $128,000. And that went to carpeting, flooring, some of the projects for the build out in the new courtroom. So those funds were used towards that project. The last slide here shows a pie chart, just to kind of give you an idea of where those funds went. So we've got that itemized out by dollar figure percentage, and then you can see that on the pie chart. General request covered 20%. Small business tourism was 10%. Community services 2%. Business development, job training is 6%, and capital projects were 62% of ARPA funds. And that is all Patty and I have for you. Any questions?
You know, when we went through this, and it seems like COVID, thankfully, is in the rearview mirror, and you know, that was such a wild time. And I think about the work that we did when the ARPA that was passed, and we heard that we were going to get this pot of money. And it's like, you know, that's a real challenge for a local government. And I'll tell you, just as you go through this, and I appreciate you going through the report, Sarah, because it makes, you know, I feel like we did it right. We had put together a plan. We allocated funds on different needs, and whether you can argue back and forth whether that was, you know, the politics of it was, you know, should that federal money have been spent in this particular way. The one thing that comes through as you go through that is we took care of our people in a lot of ways. And we were able to use funds to make improvements in the county that we'd kicked down the road for however long because we didn't have the funding to do it. So I'm really proud of the job that you guys did. I'm proud of the job that I compliment, you know, everybody in this room that was involved in that during that time. It really, your report really makes that shine. Appreciate that, Sarah. So anyway, I'll open it up to questions.
Question I have, you know, over $4 million were spent on capital projects, much of which was the county properties, which of course is all maintenance. I don't know how many years this built, but
yeah.
So what do we do going forward to be able to cover those costs when they have to be redone?
So that's part of our job here, and making sure that the finance And I think that's the challenge that we have to make sure that the finance or the maintenance committee and maintenance folks gives that to us, in a 5-year plan rolling so that we stay up with the capital projects and we have that accounted for, Jason. I mean, that's the only thing we can
In the
do.
past, apparently that wasn't done.
I-
There was no capital plan.
I don't want to throw the previous folks under the bus, but
It was, yeah, I hate the term, but it was kicked down the road all the time. It's like, there was never any money.
Right.
And instead of having a plan to put it together, it just was deferred. Yeah, exactly. So,
Well,
We didn't have the money
in my experience in local government, Rochelle, over the years was that, they did the same thing, but what they did is they recognized when money was so cheap to borrow, they said it's never going to get cheaper to replace these things down the road. So let's borrow the money at 2% and let's get these things funded because it's not, economically it makes more sense. So, I mean, maybe we're very adverse to doing that type of thing, and interest rates, of course, need to come down. But I'm always concerned about how we fund things that we all know are going to happen down the road, but we don't do it. We don't plan for it.
Right.
So it sounds like we are now.
I think we are.
Can we,
I
can
mean,
we kind of
Dean-
interject on that a little bit too?
So,
Well, let's, before you do, Paul, Dean, I think, isn't that the direction that you guys are headed? Yeah.
for a little perspective, I, doing some work for a separate entity, came across an article from 2012 that made reference to what our capital fund balance was in 2012, and it was $600,000. And we have a little over 8 million right now. And I know 8 million sounds like a lot of money, but as we just saw, a HVAC project for one of our buildings, when we have several, cost us close to $4. So yeah, 8 million is a lot, but it doesn't always go very far when you're talking about maintaining some of our older buildings. But I would say, over that time, getting from $600,000 to 8 million, obviously ARPA helped with that, right? Otherwise, some of those costs would have been borne out of the capital projects fund. But it did allow us to build a balance within capital. And over the years, we've clearly done work. Not me, I've only been here 2 years, right? There's been work done over those 13 or 14 years to build up that balance. It wasn't only built up by the ARPA money that we got.
No.
So,
And to give you a little more perspective on the budgets and how that worked, in 2018, in order to make our budget balance, we were actually pulling $800,000 out of capital just to make that work out of a capital balance at that time, which I think was right around $2.5, $3 million. So, Jason, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is it wasn't necessarily a kick the can down the road, even though it was. It was, oh my God, how do we pay for this? And yeah, could we have borrowed the money? Correct. But then how do you pay for something? You still got to pay for that back. And we didn't have a revenue stream to do that. I think today we're better in how we manage our cash and how we manage the funds so that we don't run into that.
And there are no state statutes or anything that prohibit you, don't have limitations on how much you can set aside for capital.
no, there are.
Yeah,
are
there-
limitations.
Yes.
yes,
So
yeah.
it's a percentage of your EAV.
Okay.
I believe it's like 3% of our
Yeah.
EAV, which
That we could set aside, or even that we could borrow. So we also have a limitation on what we can borrow.
Mhm.
And
Uh,
I assume those funds are all invested in one form or another.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
of course, if the balance gets to be above what's allowed, then you can't set any more money aside.
We would, I mean, if we were ever bordering that, right, our levies would likely just be lower, right?
Okay.
We would not need to
Sure.
levy nearly as much.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to run the math in my head. It would be,
3% of a little
be
over
about
$1 billion
300 million.
EAV. I think it's like 30. I did the calculation. It's either 3% or 0.3%.
0.3.
0.3%. So it's like 30 to 35 million is our cap
Okay.
that
there
we
you
can
go.
have in that.
Okay,
capital.
good. With the way, yeah, 0.3 rather than
Yes,
3%.
0.3, sorry.
The 3% would been, it was
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
we'd never get
No,
there.
no,
No,
it's,
no,
it's
no.
in the 30s.
It's in, yeah,
million
30
range.
million
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so think, I mean, before we would run up against that, we'd have to more than triple what our reserves are today.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna
And of course, the AVs
I'm gonna
for-
get you off topic a little bit, but back on the ARPA. I do want to shout out to both Sarah and Patty, and I know this is kind of sounding like I'm, patting my own back here, but federal statute says you can take whatever you were gonna be awarded, you can take 10% of that as your administrative costs, whatever that administrative cost is. That would have been over $600,000 for this project. These guys came in at around 200,000. So there was another 400 that went to all of these different projects that either it was here in the county or for the businesses. I mean, I think we did, in a way, we did a fantastic job of taking care of this money.
Yep, I agree.
One
Okay.
quick question. Listening to the names of those businesses, some of them are out of business. And there was no clawback provisions or anything like that. Once that money was given, didn't matter if they closed their door the next day, that money's gone.
For the ARPA money, that would be true. I think for the PPP money, which there was like over 60 million that came into Lee County in that respect, they could do a clawback on that.
But the county board had nothing to do with that.
Correct. And that's why I say on the ARPA money, we didn't have a provision for clawback. And the only thing I think we said was if you didn't use it in a timely manner, we were going to ask you for it back. But everybody needed it so badly that it was used up before.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nancy.
I have one final comment, at least from me. This is such a fabulous report summary that they put together that makes it so very simple for everybody to understand. Is there some way we can show this to the entire board so that everybody sees where that money went? Because people don't really realize it. So I don't know how you want to,
Well, it's in the board resource folder.
that
so-
doesn't mean that they see it.
No, we got to
Sorry.
ask them to look at it.
Yeah, maybe we can at some point do a presentation or
Sure.
something. I
But,
don't
but
know.
to your point, and I really think government does a very poor job of this. Public relations really matters, and showing what county government does and how they handle this. I think the public really needs to know that, and how you go about disseminating that, getting the newspaper to do a story. I think would be really helpful because to your point, our staff did a phenomenal job on this. The county board had a large, but people don't know what county government does. And this is an opportunity, I think, to really educate the impact that this, and it'd be interesting to know, it'd be way too expensive to find out, but what was the actual economic impact of this money coming back into the community, holding on to that many jobs? And I'm always thinking as an economic development director, how many jobs were saved? How much tax revenue then was continually provided as a result of this? How many businesses stayed in business that are still there today? I mean, it's a big deal. And I think the county ought to get some credit. That's the wrong word maybe. But the idea of educating, to Nancy's point, educating the public as to the significance of how this was handled, I think is something we should consider doing.
Well, maybe that's something we can consider for this month's meeting or next month's meeting that as this all winds down, that we do a look back and inform board. Because a lot of, we've had a huge amount of turnover on the board, that wasn't directly involved in this. They may have been through the reports afterwards, but not involved in the, in the whole decision-making process and all that.
Well, I think that's part of it. And then to Jason's point, I'm sure, Peyton Felix is probably watching or will respond out that, we could probably get something out in the media to assist with public knowledge of that program and education on it.
And, I'd like to help with this if you'd like to get some input, but I think honestly, interviewing some of the businesses what it did to them, how it saved them, or what the great positive impacts were, getting those that were recipients to give some testimony, I think would be important.
Right. Sure. Okay. Anything else for Sarah and Patty? Thank you again. And as things wind down, we'll see you another time for the, I suppose, the final report. So, but appreciate you guys putting this together. Is very well done. Thank you. All right. We do not have any Joseph E. Meyer resolutions, and we do have everybody had a chance to look at the sheriff's report. Sorry, Clay, I have not had a chance to as yet. I will. Don't worry. I know. Heart palpitations for Jim not reading the report. Let's see, new business. Yeah, nope, go
I
ahead.
have a question for the sheriff. In the ARPA information, there was $17,000 for something called the Polycom Studio Zoom or inmates appearances. What exactly is that and how does it work?
That is so the inmates could, well, especially during COVID, so the inmates could appear via closed circuit TV in court.
So they would stay in jail and report and have their hearings or their, okay.
Correct.
And is it working?
Yes.
Good.
Yep. Anything else? For the sheriff? Read?
I thought it was a really good report. I did read it. It was.
It
No, it was.
was-
See, it wasn't a lost cause, Sheriff.
Thank you
No,
very
but
much.
it's crazy. Some of the things that you had going on this last
Oh.
month or two here is.
Clay, I enjoy reading. I told you every month just because it's, I shouldn't say enjoy it. It's fascinating to what goes on, but I still think we need to be printing those out and putting them in a booklet form and send them to our congressman and say, look, this is just one county insanity that goes on. And
Yeah.
I've seriously considered doing that. I do have all 12 months of them saved in my computer so that I could print them out and do that, but
And just the crazy part too is that how that safety act just is such a disheartening thing. It just lets everybody kind of keep doing what they're doing and it's a shame.
Exactly. There's no sanctions on these individuals, so they don't stop doing what they're doing and just go right back to their evil ways.
well, it's got to be frustrating for your deputies.
It's very frustrating.
Knowing they stop somebody and they can go back and do it again tomorrow. you know?
Yes, I mean, some of these individuals that we are using meth and committing burglaries, I mean, it's cite and release, so they're not even sobering up, so to speak, before they're back out on the street.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yeah.
one more question for the sheriff.
Sure.
Sheriff Whalen, in the budget amendment request, it shows that there's a salary retention bonus of $80,500, and it looks like a grant covered that cost.
Correct.
Is salary and retention bonuses something that you routinely do on an annual basis?
No, it was a grant that was sponsored by the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board. Obviously, we were a recipient, but then we were also, it was, individuals were jumping from one law enforcement agency to another. We had that happen to us. So they basically offered a grant to try and keep individuals to stay with the
Good.
law enforcement agency. So we applied for it and actually got it.
So if you need to do salary retention bonuses, that type of thing, that'll be incorporated in your annual budget then?
Yeah, this was a one-time deal and they're not doing it. They stopped that grant actually. So we were able to capitalize it before.
Well, I'm a big proponent, and I know it's not common in government, but for bonuses for performances above and beyond and the ability to reward people for great performances. But, so this was the one and done.
This was a one and
But do you
done.
do bonuses? Are you
No.
capable of doing that type of thing?
We have not done that in the past that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It would probably need to be addressed within the contract, the union
Oh, yeah,
contract.
sure.
To have some sort of merit based, not that it couldn't be, but it's just never been in there before, but you'd need probably some merit-based system to be in there to be able to do that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we've got in new business, we have point A, resolution to include compensation paid under an IRC section 125 plan as IMRF earnings. And this is what we talked about, or been talking about for the last several months. This is the resolution, so I guess what we'll do is we'll get a motion on the table and then we'll discuss it. So moved by Naylor, seconded by Kitson. Discussion. Any discussion on this? I guess, Jeremy, do you want to run us through it real quick or read which?
It's really going to be a
Yep.
Paul and Reed
I
thing.
can do it.
This
Okay,
came from
Paul and
them
Reed.
and
Yep.
I think it's a great opportunity.
So, just a refresher on how IMRF calculates their reportable wages. Currently, for any of our employees that are using our health insurance, the health insurance premium that is withheld from their paycheck is basically a deduction from their gross wages to get to the IMRF reportable wages. In essence, we're somewhat penalizing the individuals that are, not we, but the way the system has evolved over time is penalizing those that are on our health insurance. And I guess the way I see it or liken it to someone in the private sector, you know, in their benefit structure, they get a 4% match on their 401k plan. Except if you take our health insurance, we're not going to give you anything, right? So it's kind of a weird quirk, I think, that just evolved over time. IMRF has realized this. They've basically got this resolution or ordinance pre-populated with everybody's information as long as you ask for it. But what will then happen is for those employees that are on our health insurance, instead of calculating their reportable wages off of the net of their gross wages and their insurance premiums, it'll just be calculated off the gross. So it will help our employees receive a higher pension when they are retiring, right? Because it'll increase those reportable wages. There will be a little bit more basically that comes out their pension, and the county will pay a little bit more for the pension cost. When we did the math, it was less than $3,000 a month for everybody.
And as I remember correctly, this is, the cost is included.
And yes,
into
the
this year's
cost is
budget. So
included
it's-
in our
It's
budget.
incorporated.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe then to Jason's point, this is more of a retention, a benefit for the employee, right? So it helps us in our retention process too.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing the resolution and Becky, make sure this is, we're passing the resolution on to executive be included into the county board agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, guys. And we've got a few housekeeping things to do within the budget adjustment request for 2025, and I will read. Do you want
Yep,
to take
you
these
can.
two?
Yep. So similar to last month, these are budget requests that I'm doing essentially on all the departments' head behalves. They are for grant funds that we received during the year that were not originally budgeted for. So what we're doing is basically saying, hey, we got unanticipated revenue. We are going to make a budget adjustment to increase our revenue as well as increase the for those allowable expenses of the grant that we got. Basically, this is a housekeeping item for me so that when I put together our financial statements, I do not need to show any of these grants as being funds that overspent their appropriations because we didn't really. So.
As usual, the chairman got ahead of himself and called on Reed before I got a motion on the table. Without objection, we'll do a motion that includes both 1 and 2, the sheriff's office and the judges, and we'll do it all in one motion. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Anderson. Although, any discussion? None? Okay, right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Correct. To be included in the next week's agenda.
Question for Reed.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Reed, are we still progressing on our report you were going to do for us, the costs on the jail and so forth? Jail
Yeah,
operation.
actually, I was just talking to Sheriff about that a little bit ago. What we're doing, what I guess my plan would be, it'd be to kind of create some GLs to separate out patrol from corrections activities so that, we can get true cost for running each of those operations.
Okay.
It'll take a little bit of time so that we can settle up on what is a good GL structure. But we can, my plan would then be is get that in place and then for this fiscal year, do journal entries to get anything that we've previously expensed in FY '26 to the appropriate places so that we can look at that for.
Right. Maybe they'll change the Safety Act by the time you get this done. But
Sure.
I mean, I really believe it's an opportunity for the county and the taxpayers to save money, whether we would combine with another county or however we do it, but interested to get that report. Thank you.
And the main thing, we can't make a intelligent decision without having good information.
Right.
So, right, that's the whole point. All right, I don't have an executive session for us. Is there anything else good for the cause? Anybody have? If not, I'll entertain motion to adjourn, moved by Naylor, second by Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, everybody.